prego, vi imploro, con umiltà e con fiducia, permettete a Cristo di parlare all'uomo.
Toshiyuki aveva capito il problema che avevo. Se la tua vocazione è vero, il tuo lavoro verrà fuori anche dai sassi.
Di comunicare la fede agli altri, ma veramente insieme a loro riscoprire che cos'è la fede, che cos'è la fede per me. Portare Cristo agli altri, comunicarlo agli altri è l'unico modo che abbiamo per conoscerlo veramente.
L'iter communionis aiuta a comunicare all'esterno la ricchezza di vita, di giudizi, di tentativi, di opere che nascono dalle persone e dalle comunità. L'iter communionis è proprio la vita del movimento. Scrivete all'iter communionis le vostre esperienze, ci fate bene.
Vi prego, vi imploro, con umiltà e con fiducia, permettete a Cristo di parlare all'uomo.
Toshiyuki aveva capito il problema che avevo. Se la tua vocazione è vero, il tuo lavoro verrà fuori anche dai sassi.
Di comunicare la fede agli altri, ma veramente insieme a loro riscoprire che cos'è la fede, che cos'è la fede per me. Portare Cristo agli altri, comunicarlo agli altri è l'unico modo che abbiamo per conoscerlo veramente.
L'iter communionis aiuta a comunicare all'esterno la ricchezza di vita, di giudizi, di tentativi, di opere che nascono dalle persone e dalle comunità. L'iter communionis è proprio la vita del movimento. Scrivete all'iter communionis le vostre esperienze, ci fate bene.
Questo è un luogo che genera dialogo,
Qualcuno che si impegna, che si batte.
che approfondisce la conoscenza e sostiene la fiducia. È un crocevia dove si incontra chi desidera il vero, il bello, il giusto e il bene. È una testimonianza di speranza nel cuore ferito del presente. E tutto questo
Proporre con la propria vita.
esiste anche grazie a te.
Buongiorno.
Ladies and gentlemen, good morning and welcome. Welcome to this panel on peace, because we talk about peace. Before starting, I'd like to introduce to you and to thank Wakaka Saito, our friend. Since 1988, she has been helping us during the meeting. She's a teacher, a professor at the Nagoya University, and sometimes she teaches Italian, and then in the spring comes to Catholic University to teach Japanese. She has to go in the booth to translate our guests. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you.
Sentite bene, vero?
So, you can hear me. I'm back at the Rimiti meeting. I'm very happy to be here, first of all, because my friendship with you has been long-lasting since 1988. I'm a Buddhist, and I'm very happy to be here because this is a miracle happening every day. And thank you very much, because you can help make friendship happen alone. Thank you all. Before starting, I want to show you these beautiful origami that our guests gave to me. Origami are works of art, handmade, and why you make them? You pray for peace. They brought to the meeting many origami as a sign of peace, and they also want to contribute to peace, not just with the origami, but with their testimony today here also. So we thank them very, very much for this. So I'd like to thank, from the bottom of my heart, Toshiyuki Mimaki, from the Nihon Hidankyo organization that received the Peace Nobel Prize in 2024. And Professor Masao Tomonaga from the Nagasaki University. The picture that you see behind us is a picture of the commemoration of August 9th in Nagasaki, lit up at 11:02 when the bomb was dropped. To us, well, when the bomb was falling, Mr. Mimaki was 3 years old and Mr. Tomonaga 2 years old. So they belong to the generation of the survivors, and they spent their childhood in those destroyed cities. I want to thank them because they traveled a long, long way, a very long travel with many difficulties. So thank you again for being here, because you finally made it. Thanks. The uranium-based bomb exploded on Hiroshima on August 6 and killed 140,000 people. The bomb, the plutonium bomb, because they also experimented, one with uranium, the other with plutonium, was dropped on Nagasaki 3 days after and provoked 74,000 victims, and both cities were completely destroyed. We say these figures, but each person was killed, and that has to do with other moments of this meeting. We always mention figures, but each figure is a person with a life, a background, and those people are all killed. There are commemorations that exist just for their sake, but there is a way to commemorate and to remember, and that is special. And this is what we want to do today at the meeting. So building with new bricks. And it is important to revive the memory of these events, to remember the kind of evil men can provoke. And I'm very grateful to our guests. It's important to give testimony of how it's possible to go beyond this evil for a greater good. This is the great testimony that they bring all around the world. It is possible to remember without hatred, without resentment, but with an open heart to build a new life. Before listening to our guests, I'd like to read the letter of a Nagasaki bishop, Mr. Nikaki Nakamura, and he sent us this letter for this special occasion. I'm reading the letter to you. As a citizen of the country that suffered the tragedy of the atomic bomb, I would like to thank the meeting for inviting from Japan Mr. Toshiyuki Mimaki, representative member of the Japanese Council of Atomic Bombs Victims Organization, Nihon Hidankyo Organization, and Mr. Masao Tomonaga, doctor and president of the Association of Friends of Atomic Bomb Survivors in Nagasaki Prefecture. This year marks the 80th anniversary of the atomic bombing. The number of atomic bomb survivors is decreasing, and we are entering a generation that no longer knows the experience of war or the damage caused by atomic bombs. In this context, nuclear-armed states or countries under their control have not yet joined the Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons and the possibility of developing and using the latest miniaturized nuclear weapons is increasing. Furthermore, various wars are already being fought in some places, and many people are suffering from the damage caused by these conflicts. In this regard, I would like to express my gratitude for hosting in Rimini, Nihon Hidankyo organization, which received the Nobel Peace Prize last year. I'm also grateful to Dr. Masao Tomonaga, whom you have invited to your meeting, for his personal friendship and guidance, partly because he lives in the city of Nagasaki and partly because he is the president of the association which honors the late Dr. Takashi Nagai. The father of Professor Tomonaga was the doctor that cured Takashi Nagai. I pray that your commemoration meeting for the atomic bomb tragedy will be the first step towards realizing the peace that God desires, and that, like a wave of the sea, it will overflow and move the whole world. From Nagasaki, with brotherly love in the Lord, Peter Mishai Nakamura, Archbishop of Nagasaki. Right. So, allow me to ask Mr. Mimaki the first question. Your association tried first and foremost to take care of the victims, often neglected, but at the same time, your main goal has been to warn the world against the use of nuclear weapons, and also trying to show ways of peace and reconciliation. So my question is the following: how do you pursue this goal, and what is your commitment in order to make reconciliation possible? Good morning. I am Toshiyuki Mimaki from Nihon Hidankyo, the Japanese Association of Atomic Bomb Survivors. After traveling for almost 30 hours, I finally arrived in Rimini. First of all, I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the meeting for your invitation. As you know, Japan is the only country in the world to have been hit by an atomic bomb. The atomic bombs were dropped on Hiroshima on August 6, 1945, and on Nagasaki on August 9, 1945, thus ending the war. This August, we commemorated the 80th anniversary of the tragic event of the atomic bombings. It is a moving moment to be here with all of you at the Rimini meeting for this occasion. In 1956, Mr. Ichiro Moritaki founded the Hiroshima Victims Association, and the name was Hidankyo. The association states, nuclear weapons and humanity cannot coexist. Humanity must live. This is an absolute rejection not only of nuclear weapons, but also of nuclear waste from peaceful energy use, because plutonium takes 25,000 years to become harmless. Neither atomic bombs nor peaceful nuclear energy can coexist with mankind. I was a city councillor when a senior councillor asked me to take over his role in Hidankyo. When I started, at that time, the representative was Mr. Sunao Tsuboi, the fourth president of Hidankyo. I experienced the atomic bomb when I was 3 years old and had almost no memory of it, while Mr. Tsuboi at the time was 20 years old. For this reason, he had a terrible experience and had a strong desire that nuclear weapons should be completely abolished. The first time I participated in an overseas event with Mr. Tsuboi was in May 2010, when the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty Conference was held in New York. And Mr. Tsuboi's motto was "Never give up." And now I would like to introduce his last words. I spent many years of dreams and hopes. I am now 94 years old, suffering from various illnesses, and I have little time left to live. My physical and mental strength is slowly fading. I am aware of all this, but I will never give up. In 2014, when I was invited to the United States as representative of Hiroshima to a memorial meeting for the victims of the atomic bomb organized by a civic group in Washington, D.C., I spoke at various conferences in the local church, at the university, and at the Martin Luther King Memorial. At the beginning of my speech, I said, as a Japanese citizen, I apologize for the attack on Pearl Harbor by the former Japanese army and some politicians, and then I recounted my experience of the atomic bombing and its terrible consequences. Towards the end of the lecture, a young American woman came running up to me with tears in her eyes and gave me a letter. It read, "In the United States, the atomic bombing is justified because it ended the war and thus saved more lives. But we must apologize to Japan." I was very happy to know that true peace can be achieved by forgiving one another. At the Smithsonian National Air and Space Museum, I had the opportunity to see the B-29 Enola Gay aircraft that dropped the atomic bomb. I also visited the museum dedicated to the Holocaust of the Jews, but my heart was broken by such a cruel story, so I went out onto the street. Although 80 years have passed since the atomic bombing, the abolition of nuclear weapons has progressed slowly. The Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons was adopted by the United Nations in July 2017. But the reality is that the states possessing nuclear weapons and the countries said to be under the nuclear umbrella have not yet signed or ratified it. So they say they have the reasons, but actually all those reasons are wrong. The survivors of the atomic bombing of Hiroshima on August 6, 1945 are living witnesses to the heat rays, radiation, and shock waves. They wandered in search of their missing parents, siblings, and relatives, and were exposed to radiation and ate contaminated vegetables. Many people were orphaned and had to endure great hardship or live alone in an era when there were no support systems, carrying their trauma with them amid great confusion. At the time, there were extremely harsh, painful, and sad difficulties that we cannot even imagine today. On January 4th, 2012, news came that the words of the atomic bomb memorial had been sprayed with paint by heartless people. This is a memorial monument that was erected that is full of the words of the people that wants to live fully, together with the words of the victims of the atomic bombing. It was a very sad day since the very morning. After winning the Nobel Peace Prize on December 10th, 2024, my life changed dramatically, and I became even more committed. I had the opportunity to discuss peace with many people, not only in Hiroshima, but throughout Japan. And sometimes I even met with the Prime Minister to express my views. On March 8th, 2025, during the visit to Japan by the President of the Republic, Sergio Mattarella, I had the great honor of meeting him in Hiroshima. I was very moved when the President said to me directly, I hope for a humanity capable of learning from its mistakes. I hope to build a world in which no one will ever have to experience such a tragedy again. What you have experienced and the struggle you have waged for a better world touches us all and you all. I thank you for choosing to turn pain into warning, suffering into hope, and tragedy into commitment. The only wish of the atomic bomb survivors is that there will never be any more atomic bomb survivors. To do this, we must eliminate nuclear weapons from the Earth. And we are working towards this. Never give up.
al dottor professor Tomonaga.
So, we ask Professor Masao Tomonaga to tell us, as you heard, he spent his childhood and young years, and as a doctor, he experienced the long-term consequences of the bombing, not just physical but also psychic consequences. We asked him, how is it possible to face all this? How is it possible to survive, but not just to survive, but to live having this great suffering inside? The floor is yours.
Yes. Most Hibakusha atomic bomb survivors struggled to survive after they became confident that they had overcome the initial devastation. Some Hibakusha with severe hopeless injuries committed suicide, along with losing willingness to live. But the suicide number was rather small. Nagasaki Hibakusha, representing human being, was tough enough to resurrect and hope for future self-recovery and making new family members. Within 3 months, they also started to construct their houses, although poor barracks. Now their mean age is over 86. Although elderly, some of them still show considerable activity in the movement for the elimination of the nuclear weapons. However, the world nuclear weapons are maintained more than 12,000 in total by 9 nuclear weapon states. Some of them are even increasing their nuclear warheads in this decade. So we see again nuclear arms expansion, a new trend after the nuclear disarmament since the end of the Cold War in 1991. Last year, on December 10, the Nobel Peace Prize Committee awarded the 2024 prize to Nihon Hidankyo, Japanese Confederation of Atomic and Hydrogen Bomb Sufferers Organization, established in Nagasaki in 1956. The Nobel Peace Prize Committee Chairman, Mr. Friedness, talked at the award ceremony that Hibakusha had firmly established the nuclear taboo by their tough and long-lasting anti-nuclear movement since 1956 through their atomic bomb testimonies spreading over global nations. This activity had not brought the third use of atomic bomb after Nagasaki. They shouted, "Nagasaki must be the last city to have been destroyed by nuclear bomb in human history." During the Cold War period, the nuclear taboo became international norm, but it seems fragile these years since the Russian invasion to Ukraine, with Mr. Putin's advocate of threat to use nuclear weapons. This deterioration of nuclear security needs again Hibakusha's movement to spread their testimonies over the globe, especially for young generations, to reestablish nuclear disarmament for future realization of nuclear-free world. Mr. Terumi Tanaka, 92 years old, Nagasaki Hibakusha, representing Hidankyo, and whole Hibakusha promised with strong voice to restart once again for the peace education of the world youth. I was also invited to attend the ceremony by the Nobel Peace Prize Committee and also asked to talk on the stage of the International Forum for overcoming the present severe nuclear security declining. I mainly focused on my 60 years medical care and research on the health effect of atomic bomb radiation. I summarized that many types of solid cancers and now increasing myelodysplastic syndrome, abbreviated MDS, an elderly form of leukemia, are showing plateau curves after 80 years of radiation exposure they received in 1 minute of explosion of 1945. Our Nagasaki University Atomic Bomb Institute on the health effects disclosed by the long-term follow-up study of Hibakusha's body cells, especially organ stem cells, such as blood stem cells in the bone marrow, have been injured at DNA level, causing many chromosomes and gene abnormalities in precancerous cells or pre-leukemic cells, which are insidiously surviving over Hibakusha's entire life, ensuing a sporadic onset of malignant diseases in some Hibakushas. Thus, the effect of radiation exposure on body cells are in fact lifelong. Unfortunately, we medical scientists still don't have an effective treatment for eradicating such precancerous or pre-leukemic cells. I myself developed prostate cancer 6 years ago at age 76. Applying a newly invented carbon heavy beam radiation therapy on my prostate cancer, it successfully induced a complete remission for 6 years. Thus, Hibakushas are happier than before by the recent progress of medical care. The study on the second generation of Hibakushas are still being undertaken based on recently developed sophisticated technology of whole genome analysis to reveal gene abnormality transmission from Hibakusha parents with high exposure dose to their children after 80 years. It will take a few years to accomplish more than 500 such pairs. The lifelong effect of atomic bomb radiation clearly indicates anti-humanitarian nature of nuclear weapons. This led to the global consensus on the inhumane nature and also establishment of the International Treaty on the Prohibition of Nuclear Weapons, TPNW, on 2017. They should be eliminated promptly and never be reproduced and used in an erroneous nuclear war. TPNW was the greatest achievement in this decade. However, no one nuclear state signed this TPNW. The Treaty on the Non-Proliferation of Nuclear Weapons, NPT, had already spent 50 years, but no successful result in nuclear operation, a serious security deterioration. Other schemes, such as measures to overcome the nuclear deterrence policies, which are firmly maintained by 9 nuclear power states after the cessation of the Cold War in 1989. In 2023, my Hibakusha Association performed a United States tour by 10 Hibakusha to visit university and college students. We could have good conversations with more than 1,000 U.S. citizens, in which we found that U.S. students consider that nuclear weapons are in fact anti-humanitarian and must be eradicated in future. But they also confessed that they cannot find good measures to propose abandoning nuclear weapons to their government. Number 2 questions from you. Okay. What wishes do global citizens have concerning future nuclear-free world? My answer is as following. The nuclear age of which dawn we Hiroshima, Nagasaki citizens witnessed and observed thoroughly and survived over 80 years with fear of the possibility of the third use of nuclear weapon. Unfortunately, we are getting pessimistic for the future of nuclear weapon elimination. The probability of global human cessation by a full-scale nuclear war seems gradually elevating. We Hibakusha are lucky to have 80 years long lives already. However, the youth in 2025 now must live a big future whether nuclear-free world would be realized or not. Within 20 years, we Hibakusha would say goodbye for the nuclear age and the global citizens, but the youth generation will see probably the third use of atomic bombs in war or by accident. Their responsibility to change their government's nuclear deterrence policy and strategy for nuclear weapon use will come up as a reality in future decades. As Nobel Peace Forum in Oslo summarized that dialogue and mutual understanding will be indispensable. That means that the youth generation on the global earth should succeed in establishing a tight solidarity beyond the boundaries over the nuclear weapon states and non-nuclear weapon states. They have right to make a political solidarity, and at the same time, they have responsibility to make realize nuclear-free world. Thank you very much.
La seconda domanda.
The second question that he mentioned, Dr. Tomonaga, was a question we asked him to know which are the activities and the results that you see, and what his feedback about all the realities he visits during his conferences and travels. And as you heard, well, the answer is not very optimistic. He sees that actually is not to be taken for granted that nuclear weapons are abolished. So we need to keep reminding people of the terrible consequences of the use of such weapons. So probably he hoped that there was a better reception of such a message, but unfortunately it's not the case, as you heard. So that's why, even more so, we need to communicate, as he said in his speech, to communicate all this to future generations, so to tell them that it's important to make sure that these weapons are abolished. And so this is also my question to Mr. Mimaki. So you carry out many educational activities with your organization, and especially with young people. How do you carry out these activities? The 80th anniversary of the atomic bombings on Hiroshima and Nagasaki is an important number, but we are trying to do our best to sign petitions in the streets and to increase the awareness by people about the experience of the atomic bombings. However, I don't know how long I will still be able to do this. That is why our hope is that the next generation will be able to fully understand the horror of the atomic bomb in order to carry our activities on. On top of that, both cities are working together, Hiroshima and Nagasaki, and I have many hope for the young people of the future. For instance, in Hiroshima, we try to educate to peace. And this is part and parcel in the classes and in the educational activities. So primary school children learn to know the month, the day, and the date and the time of the dropping of the bomb. And they visit the Atomic Bomb Museum in the Peace Park to listen to the stories of the survivors. On August 6th, they join a commemorational ceremony in front of the Hiroshima Atomic Bomb Dome, and they sing the Hiroshima Peace Song. In addition, primary, middle, and high school students from all over Japan visit Hiroshima and Nagasaki on school trips to truly understand what peace means. I also go to nearby primary schools and distant high schools to talk about my experiences. I also visit many schools, and since the surprise attack on Pearl Harbor, many civilians have lost their lives, and my family and I have suffered many hardships because of the atomic bombings, just like many people today. I hope that those who listen to me can understand in a natural way in their hearts the dehumanization of war and of nuclear weapons. There are various organizations for young people. For example, Kakuwaka, which asks members of parliament elected in Hiroshima whether they are against or for the nuclear weapons ban treaty. And the answers are published on the internet. The Association of Children of Atomic Bomb Survivors is an organization that issues a survivor's health booklet, even to second-generation people who do not receive it from the state. High School Peace Ambassadors is an initiative through which citizens of Nagasaki attract high school students from all over Japan and send them once a year to the UN, continuing to appeal for the abolition of nuclear weapons with signatures collected from the Japanese people. I understand that the Rimini meeting is supported by many young volunteers. I was very impressed by the fact that the volunteers are not only involved in the direct management of various activities, but also contribute in many different ways, as parking attendants under the scorching sun, or accompanying guests by car, cleaning services, and so on and so forth. I am convinced that the protagonists of the creation of peace are all the young people who will be responsible for this future. And I hope that in the future, the young people from Hiroshima and Nagasaki will be able to attend the Rimini meeting and work as volunteers as well, to favor the friendship, to deepen the friendship, and also strengthen solidarity for peace beyond differences. So I hope to, in conclusion, carry my heart's words. Never give up. I want to share them with you because they have been the guiding principle of my life. I want to continue to work for this as long as I live. And to you, young people who are the future of the world, I would like to offer the words, never give up, for world peace. For this reason, I ask you adults to nurture the younger generation with the compassion typical of our Buddhism and with the love of Christianity. Here we are, all together, in the vacant places. We will build with new bricks. Thank you very much.
Mimaki da Tomonaga. Come avete visto.
So, as you could hear from this round of applause, your message, your words, your testimonies have been welcomed with our hearts, and we will try to do our best to help hand out this message to future generations. So Mr. Tomonaga and Mimaki will also meet young people during these days, and they will continue to share their experiences. And Mr. Tomonaga also met some of our doctors to share with them at a scientific level what said in his speech. So thank you very much for being here and for your words and for coming. Thank you very much.
ありがとうございました。ありがとうございました。ありがとうございます。Thank you very much. Grazie, grazie. Grazie.
ありがとうございました。はいはい。はい、行きましょう。あ、写真を撮る。
Questo è un luogo che genera dialogo,
Qualcuno che si impegna, che si batte.
che approfondisce la conoscenza e sostiene la fiducia. È un crocevia dove si incontra chi desidera il vero, il bello, il giusto e il bene. È una testimonianza di speranza nel cuore ferito del presente. E tutto questo
Proporre con la propria vita.
esiste anche grazie a te.
Vi prego, vi imploro, con umiltà e con fiducia, permettete a Cristo di parlare all'uomo.
Don Gius aveva capito il problema che avevo. Se la tua vocazione è vero, il tuo lavoro verrà fuori anche dai sassi.
Di comunicare la fede agli altri, ma veramente insieme a loro riscoprire che cos'è la fede, che cos'è la fede per me. Portare Cristo agli altri, comunicarlo agli altri è l'unico modo che abbiamo per conoscerlo veramente.
L'iter communionis aiuta a comunicare all'esterno la ricchezza di vita, di giudizi, di tentativi, di opere che nascono dalle persone e dalle comunità. L'iter communionis è proprio la vita del movimento. Scrivete all'iter communionis le vostre esperienze, ci fate bene.
Vi prego, vi imploro, con umiltà e con fiducia, permettete a Cristo di parlare all'uomo.
Don Gius aveva capito il problema che avevo. Se la tua vocazione è vero, il tuo lavoro verrà fuori anche dai sassi.
comunicare la fede agli altri, ma veramente insieme a loro riscoprire che cos'è la fede, che cos'è la fede per me. Portare Cristo agli altri, comunicarlo agli altri è l'unico modo che abbiamo per conoscerlo veramente.
L'iter communionis aiuta a comunicare all'esterno la ricchezza di vita, di giudizi, di tentativi, di opere che nascono dalle persone e dalle comunità. L'iter communionis è proprio la vita del movimento. Scrivete all'iter communionis le vostre esperienze, ci fate bene.